Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For all the new subscribers, please make sure to click the subscribe button, and for all the returning subscribers, welcome to another video by your fave. I'm getting really tired of these weather changes, okay? Like they don't suit, you know, the preference right now. But anyway guys, again I'm going okay. I've got a guest. I don't know if you guys want to see him, but anyway, let me show you. I've got a guest. He's like literally sitting here and watching me record. His name is Edgar. I think the name suits him. What are you guys? Alright. It's about that time. Yes, my wig is popping again. What the feds? For anyone who wants to know details on this wig, I bought this wig at Dragon City sometime last year. I think sometime in June, and I bought it for about 1,200, and it was like it's a 26 inch, so really good hair quality. I found it in some funny ass area, but whatever. So guys, we're back, and this time I am back with another video that I'm sure you guys will love. I'm back with a story time. Okay, so let me tell you guys what happened, right? I recorded a story time the other day, and I lost the footage. So I recorded about 4 videos. It was a hair video, story time, a vlog, and an exercise video. And out of all those videos, my story time, there was a bit of footage that was missing. I don't know if I put too much on my memory card or my camera stopped recording at some point, but there was a lot of footage that was missing, so I couldn't upload that particular story time. But anyway, I'm back, so I decided to re-record it, and yeah guys, so let's get started. Okay, the story time is particularly interesting because it was short-lived, but it was the strangest thing. I think for me, in my 25 years, I've met a lot of really interesting characters. Look, I haven't met shoddy people completely, and I try not to surround myself with bad people, but I've met some pretty interesting personalities, right? And this story is about the one most interesting personality that I met the whole of last year. So if you guys want to know what happened in the story time, then please keep watching. Okay. Please don't ask me in the comments where I got alcohol and how my alcohol doesn't run out. Please guys, please don't ask me those questions, because those questions are for children. Like, at your big ass age, your alcohol's running out. Hey! And another disclaimer guys, I'm happy in my relationship. Gumnandi, there's absolutely nothing wrong, but let's continue. Last year, you guys remember I was a rogue agent, right? So I had went through kind of like a separation from my ex last year, which technically was a separation, but it wasn't a separation because we were still together and whatnot. But in the times where I was under the guise that I'm single, there was one time where I went out with my friends, right? So my friend calls me, I'm gonna call her Cindy. Cindy calls me and says to me, no, I'm gonna call her Dorothy. Dorothy calls me and says to me, friend, let's go essentially, let's go out, let's go have a good time. And I'm like, oh okay, where were you thinking of going? And she's like, no, let's go to that popular place in the south, the one that goes off on Sundays and has mohodu on Mondays, and yeah, and has that amazing grill platter. You know that place, the one that calls themselves a deli, but they're not really a cafe. So anyway, okay, fine. My friend is like to me, no dude, listen, let's go to Moja today, right? So whoever knows me knows I used to love Moja, guys. Like, Moja is where it's at. I'm surprised I haven't even gotten a little bit of a ambassadorship with them, because I was always there. Okay, so she says no, a couple of my friends are gonna be there, whatever, let's go have a drink, or 3 or 5. So like, okay, cool, no problem. So I normally go to Groove by myself. I take my car because I don't want to be stranded when it's time to leave. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want people giving me stories like, no, hey, so that day I decided, okay, fine, let me just go because I had nothing to do. Sharp. So I'm like, I'll drive there. Now, personally, for me, I don't like going to groove with other people unless I'm going with my partner. Because if I want to go home, and then people are going to be like, no, let's club hop, let's do all that stuff. No, guys, we've grown, hey? We're too grown to be moving from one place to the next. Like, So I went there and I got there late. I think everybody had already been there since the afternoon. I got there at around like 8. And as far as you guys know, that place closes at 10. So, no, I think I got there around 7. I get there, guys. Boo, 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 boo. Ha! Just going down. Like, it was actually a very vibey day that day. I don't remember if it was like a public holiday or it was a Sunday but I knew that everybody was not going to work the next day. Because this is where the story becomes really interesting, right? So I get there and all my friends are korapas utawa. You know, like they drunk, they jumping on the sofas, it's packed, you have to MC hammer through the crowd. Sharp. So I get there and I chill. Whoo, that situation was tricky that day. Because when I got there and I sat, the next table was this other guy that really liked me, and I had ghosted him, and he was sitting with this other girl who was like a nice 5.5. No, I'm kidding, no, she was pretty. I was sitting with this other girl who was pretty, but like he kept like trying to signal me like, hey. I think he felt really weird seeing me because he kept trying to get my attention, go to the toilet. No, she's just a friend, whatever. It was very nice that day. It was a really nice day. I remember a lot of my friends were there. It was packed to the brim, like it was full capacity, right? No problem. Then after that, throughout the night, guys, man, I'm seeing everyone, and you know, I'm a very social person, so there are a lot of people who know me, especially in the south. So now I'm greeting Ngile, hey. Eventually, as time goes on, I'm man. Hey, the bubbles, they're sinking in. Now it's time to go, right? And they wanted to move and go to, was it Icon? I don't remember, but they wanted to shift location and move somewhere else, and I was just like, I'm dizzy, I'm not going there, like, sorry. So eventually I was like, no, I'm not going there, guys, sorry, I'm leaving. So on my way to the car, this other guy looks young, like, you know, mid-30s and stuff, like he's built and, you know, he's quite tall and he's fairly like fair skin, comes up to me, right? Like he starts walking me on the way to my car because I had parked really far away. He starts walking with me and I get really scared, so like I move away. So I'm like, please stop following me. And he's like, oh, can people stop texting me? I'm like, please stop following me. And he's like, no, I'm just trying to make sure you're getting safe. Get into your car, especially if we are chiga that side, yabo. So he had a point. I was like, oh, okay, cool, Sham. Gandhi, I'm parked right next to him. Like he's parked right next to me. And I think I had parked him in or something like that. So I think this nigga had noticed when I had parked him in, or someone had told him that that Mercedes belongs to that girl, because he seemingly knew where I was going, right? Get to the car, he's really sweet and stuff, and he's like, no, dude, can I please have your number? I get the boyfriends are nothing. So then me being me, I'm like, no. First I fight it, guys, I fight it. No, what are my number? You're gonna blow me up. I don't want to fight with your girlfriends. What? But eventually, like after about 10-15, then he switches the game. He's like, no, actually, pass me your number. No, let me give you my number. If you get stopped by the cops, call me. I'm like, the fuck would I call you for? Like, why would I call you, a whole entire stranger? He's like, no, I can see that you don't want to give me your number, and I'm not going to force you. But should you go, like, get into any situation on your way home? Because I told him, listen, dude, I live in Alberton. I need to go. Please, like, stop wasting my time. He's like, listen, if you get stopped by the cops, especially Mayo Kibela, Le Ofremble, Ezokipangase, Nazrek, then I suggest you just take my number because cops wait there. I'm like, okay, cool. He was going wherever he was going, but it was around the area, so Then I took his number. I don't remember what the exchange was. I really genuinely do. Then I took his number. Then guys, me being me, I got home safe. Everything was fine. I had no intention of calling that person anyway. The next day, I think it was an Instagram DM. I don't know how these niggas find us, guys. These niggas go on like witch hunts, right? He found me on Instagram and he DM'd me and he said to me, hey, listen, just wanted to check if you got home safe and what. So I went through the profile and realized, no, it's him. Because he was like, hey, it's me, by the way. Last night, just wanted to check if you got home safe. Sharp. Like, no, I got home safe. Thank you. He's like, so what are you doing today? And I'm like, none your business. And he's like, no, let's have lunch if you don't mind. So my broke ass agreed, because I was just like, free food. I was like, no, okay, it's fine, we can have lunch, because I thought what he did was really sweet. And you know what, guys, for me personally, I'm attracted to very sweet guys. Hey, I'm attracted to helpful guys, and I think that's always been my weakness. My weakness has always been a man who wants to help me, even though he can see that I don't need the help. He wants to help me. I'm a very stubborn woman naturally, so if a man says, can I buy you champagne? No. What makes you think I'm gonna buy my damn self, bitch? You know? So there are some guys who go, and then there are some guys who go, no, I'm trying to step on your toes. I just want to make you happy. So with him, he was extremely sweet and he was treating very carefully with me. Right. I think someone Komoja told him who I was, because he seemingly found me too easily. Like, he didn't follow people I followed, or no, he followed some girls that I know, but him and I didn't have acquaintances with the same friends or mutual friends. So even when he found me on Instagram, I knew that something was not right here. I'm like, no, this guy asked about me. Right. He asked to meet up with me and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, sharp. So we decided to go to Life Grand, right? I get there, guys, you know, I'm looking cute. Even that day, I was supposed to go see a friend of mine, Karen. I was supposed to go see Karen that day. Then after that, I'm like, no, listen, friend, I'm just gonna go for a quick lunch and then I'll meet up with you after. And she was like, alright, cool, Sham. I get to Life Grand, guys. Like, he's looking good, you know. He's looking like a young guy who dresses like guys his age range, and he looks younger than his age, you know. So I think he got away with that, because you know how buff guys, like, some buff guys look older than they actually are, but he looked younger than his actual age. So he looked like in my age group, but a little bit older, like early 30s. He was in his mid 30s though. Get there, he's already ordered and he's like being so sweet. When I got there, he pulled back the chair and he let me sit. How? Guys. So me, I'm surveying the area. I'm like, nice shoes, nice timepiece. You know, this guy looks like he knows what he's talking about. But then where he really got me is obviously the conversation, where I get very easily distracted, and in the first 5 minutes I can gauge if I'm gonna get along with you or not. So if I'm not gonna get along with you, I make up some stupid excuse and I leave you mid-drink. Out, fast, out. So with him, he was just, the conversation was flowing very naturally. I could see that he was learned, but he was a thug, you know, and I like them thugs. You know, I don't like North boys and yo, you know the vibes. Like, I mean, I like saying you know the vibes, but I don't like guys who are like that. So he was not like that. Like, he was a typical like Zulu guy, and you know, he was a typical so fine. As the conversation is going, man, I'm asking him questions, you know, yeah, so do you have a child? He's like, no. He's like, yeah, I have a child. I'm not the mom anymore. He asked me, do you have a child? I'm like, bruh, the only child I have is my money. That's even also a lie, because I don't even have money, so I don't have a child. So he asked me, no. I asked him, no, do you have a child? Do you have a girlfriend? And he's like, no, I don't know. I have a child, but obviously the girl I was seeing, it was a bit tricky. She was actually there the night that I met you yesterday, and she was there with another nigga. So he told me the truth. He basically broke it down, and he's like, listen, when I walked you to your car, I actually wanted to make you jealous, because I could see that you were getting a lot of attention, and I had seen you walk in. So because you're so pretty, I used it to my advantage, because you had popped me in, right? I'm like, You little bitch. I stand a queen. I stand a king. I was proud of him. So essentially, he was using me to make his ex-girlfriend jealous at the time, because his ex-girlfriend at the time had rocked up with a couple of niggas that he didn't get along with. So his intention was not Ibilan Long Shayla. His intention was to make his girlfriend jealous. So I'm like, you know what, I can stand a king. As we're talking, guys, now the conversation is really flowing. Now I'm genuinely like enjoying the chats, like on a friendly note though. I'm genuinely enjoying the chats. We're laughing, you know. And then after that, I don't know where we got to the conversation where we started talking about his family. I'm like, yeah, so you know, he's telling me, no, listen dude, I've had a hard knock life, what. And I'm like, we've all had a hard knock life, please. And then he's like, I said to him, no, so do you travel? Because you know, I'm really into people who travel and things like that. He's like, no. Oh, no. Can these people stop texting me? After some time, guys, the conversation began flowing. The wine was flowing. Everything was great. The conversation was really getting to a place where I was like, oh, wow, okay, this guy's really a nice guy. And then he started telling me about his hard knock life, right? So I told him that you know, I'm still kind of hung up on someone. I just got out of a really bad relationship, and you know, I'm just kind of taking my time with everything. I'm not really looking for anything or anyone at the time. I was lying, because the reason why I wasn't looking for anything or anyone at the time is because I was still kicking it with my ex. But anyway, I see go like man. Hey, so he says to me, I don't know when I stopped or I zoned out for a second, but he mentioned something about, yeah, I've made some mistakes in my life and stuff, but you know what, I'm back on the right path, and I want to settle down at this point. I mean, I'm still a man, you know, some things, I need companionship, I'm like, oh, okay, what do you mean you've had a hard knock life? You know what I'm saying? When he says that, I'm thinking, and I'm sure he used to, you know, do a little bit of things that are off the grid. He's like, no, I was in Australia for a little bit, for some time. I'm like, so I start giggling, and I'm like, Australia? He's like, I was in Australia for a bit, right? So automatically I assume he lived in Australia. So me being me, I ask him, oh, okay, you lived in Australia. Where? Because Australia is pretty, from my experience personally, and being like an affiliate of Monash Australia, Australia is pretty racist. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm just gonna say it. Australians are racist. I would never live there. I'm sorry. So then I'm like, why would you live in Australia? Like, was it work? Did you have family? And he's like, no, I didn't have family. I'm like, was it work? Because it definitely wasn't work, because from what you're saying. He's like, no, it wasn't that either. And I'm like, Kanti, were you incarcerated? Then I laugh with this laugh. You see that one? I'm like, Kanti, were you incarcerated? And then he's like, yes. So then that's where the ball dropped. I'm like, okay. So now me being me, I'm too invasive sometimes. Like, I'm too inquisitive. I ask questions that are really inappropriate at the time, but I ask them anyway, because in my mind it's the right thing to do. I'm like, incarcerated? Okay. So I laugh. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, no, don't tell me what it was. I'm gonna guess. I'm like, you definitely wouldn't be incarcerated for killing someone because you didn't live in Australia. You definitely wouldn't be incarcerated for breaking an illegal thing or anything like that because you don't have any family, you don't know anyone in Australia. So the only thing you would have been doing in Australia at the time, you can't be incarcerated for smuggling like guns and stuff, because you don't need to be in Australia for that to happen. So the only reason you would be incarcerated in another country is because you were smuggling drugs. Or maybe you did something that side, but you definitely, you were smuggling something. And now back. So I'm laughing, thinking he's gonna say, no, dude, I was in Australia with some friends and we got into, like, you know, some bad things. I knew that especially Australia. Do you guys watch Border Security? Do you guys watch Banged Up Abroad? Do you guys realize how many drugs get smuggled into Australia? Me, I'm not a stupid. So I'm like, okay, fine. The only reason you would be incarcerated or you would be in jail in Australia, in Perth, is drugs. There's really nothing else. There's nothing else I can think of that you would be incarcerated for. And there's no other reason that I can think of that you would go to Australia. It's really, really, really not a travel destination. Now I'm sitting there in utter shock. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. When did you come out? How did you rebuild yourself? Like, what's happening now? So then he basically just told the story that it was really hard. It was a few months, so I'm assuming it wasn't anything too hectic. Like, he wasn't carrying like bag loads or whatever. But it was scary. For me, it was just like, okay, this is mad awkward. Had you released that information yesterday, I would have second guessed it. But essentially, him and I, we cool. Like, I don't talk to him, but we're cool. We're great. But essentially, when he told me that story, it's like, listen, I had to get my life together because, you know, being stuck in a foreign country all alone for something as hectic as that, because there are very, like, bad restrictions on people who bring drugs, especially in Australia. He was like, you know what, it was like a game changer for me. Like, I knew that I had to get myself back on track. And, you know, he started telling me a story, like, we're on Siya Kuruma, let's talk. And then it started being like I'm now giving him guidance, you know, and he's the older one, but I'm just like, you know what, dude, you made mistakes, but there's room for change. You know, don't even worry about it. But essentially essentially the whole lunch date, I sat with the jailbird. So I'm like, okay, does anybody know you're a thug? Does anybody know, like, you're a thug? He's like, no, nobody would even mess with me. You understand what I'm saying? So now I'm thinking, guys, get to the mouth. But yeah, guys, that is the story. I had lunch with an outright jailbird. I even remember, I think I saved him as jailbird, and we laugh about it. Like, we used to laugh about it for a while. But anyway, yes, guys, that is the story of how I found out I went on a date with the jailbird. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I was shook. But you know what? I think for me, I had no issue with it necessarily, because obviously I didn't know what line of work he was in. I'm very naive and I don't know a lot of people or their backgrounds or anything about them. It normally just happens if I tell a friend, like, oh no, this person asked me out, and or like my close friends will be like, who? Mang? No. That's why I always want to run a background check on whoever I hang out with, or whoever has my number, or whoever I'm kicking it with, because of situations like this. Ever since that day, I told myself, no more going on dates with strangers. You gotta do a background check. You gotta get an affidavit. You gotta get a written statement from both his parents. You gotta check, mate. You also gotta dial on Home Affairs, take his ID number off his license, and search, write it down on the SMS, send it to that Home Affairs number, and find out if that nigga's legally married. That's what I do now. Like, I ain't playing that game with any of you, hey? Ever since that date, that's when I realized that, you know what, even though they say love can happen like sporadically on a whim and stuff, for me, I can't do it. I don't think I could ever date a complete stranger, because things like that would knock me off the grid completely. I have a squeaky clean record. I'd like to think yours is okay. It can be a little tainted, but not outright dirty, rolling in the mud. No, sorry. Anyway, that's my story, guys. That's pretty much what happened on that lunch date. We actually ended up hanging out quite a couple of times after that, but as like purely friends. And yeah, super happy for him. He's super happy for me, because I probably sees this video. I'm sorry. That's it, guys. That is the end of my story. If you guys want to hear more stories of like more wild escapades, please comment down below in the comment section below. But other than that, that is the end of my story time, guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.